Everyone, looks like we're about to load the start screen here. And there we go, up and running. And now I've got the stream properly labeled as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the campaign loaded here. Everything has been configured for an ideal viewing experience. Alright, so we were working on a station rocket part expansion, which will be done in 2 days. And we're also working on a let's see, there's a maneuver for the observatory as well as the tourist vessel that are both coming up in 12 days. We're working on a tight schedule here, people. Okay, last night we ended the stream. We were working on a craft for an attempted space plane for recovery to see if we can get it to efficiently leave orbit. We had some problems with that, but it kept trying to veer off the various directions. So here we are, the fusion reactor model. Alright, just making sure all of our radiators are turned on right quick. Everything's looking good. We're going to try something here with this. We're going to upscale it just a lot. First off, let's make sure it's not going to cover anything. Doesn't look like it. We'll do that. Space Cat's going nuts. She wants attention. Have to move this parachute just a little here. I'm hoping that would give us an additional bit of thrust because the force of the engine is dictated by the available fuel. In this case, that fuel is atmosphere. Peace out, T. Thanks for stopping by. I want to experiment with something else too. Somebody said that these may be more efficient, slightly downscaled. I want to try that and see what happens. Basically, if you have enough power in terms of thermal power to run the engine, you'll get more efficiency out of it. But if you don't, then it's best to size down the engine so that the requirements are less and you'll put out more. So you have to find the right mix of engine size and power output in order to make these work correctly. What the world is this thing doing? Keep your nose down. Oh, don't roll. Not whirring already. This thing has such a low stall speed. I don't think this basic design is going to work. There's something about it. I guess it's too much of a brick. I want to use more curved surfaces, something that's more aerodynamically appropriate. There's our reactor jet. This thing is supposed to be aerodynamic, but it behaves really bizarre. Probably let's run up the wing size on it slightly. Yeah, slightly. Can't resize that. That's weird. Way too big. Whoa. Yeah, this does. Really want to get a reactor jet going, because if we can get one going, if you put a craft close to the edge of the atmosphere, we can actually use very efficient space planes for delivery. And of course, for some reason, it picks an engineer for the pilot. Why in the world is it doing that weird little jog? Oh well, it's up. Yeah, no SAS. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, that ain't going to work. No, screw this. We got more important things to do, notably on the station. I need to find a way to deploy a solar panel to it so we can replace the damaged one. I was informed that they will not be fixing the colliders with that. So the trick to making only a panel as a part to have it deployed, going to be making it a root part and saving it as a craft. Then we can save it as solar panel replacement or replacement, and then solar panel. That way it falls into a category that we can use for replacement parts in our craft folder. I did test it the other day. These panels can just barely be fit into a purple's inventory if they're folded up or broken. So here's the trick. They reroute. Apparently it doesn't want to do it that way. Let's try it this way. It will not reroute to a solar panel. Makes me wonder, what's our lowest part, or lowest part for craft count? What is the lowest part count we can get on a part? We need to know that. I'm going to bet it's that. $125 for that. Ooh, that may be smaller. Just barely. $40. I think that's about as low we're going to get it. We can do that. Panel itself is 345 parts. We'll just put on another piece that we plan on adding to the station later. That way we don't waste extra rocket parts for pieces we don't need. Let's just go on up to the station. And we need to remove the old part first anyway to get rid of it. Come on, direct station, load up. I know you're big, I know you're fat. You gotta load. And there we are. Now one of these is broken, we just gotta determine which one and get rid of it. Ah, good, looks like we already did. That means that we just need to clean out nearby space. So we need that on and everything else off so we don't accidentally destroy anything important. Now, due to the fact there's very little going on the next couple of days, we're going to go ahead and time warp to the creation of this piece for the station. Because 2 days isn't very long. Most missions take much longer than that, so I mean, it's 12 hours Kerbal time. Who we have coming in with the host on this one? Let's see here. Rocket Guy. Welcome aboard. Thank you, sir. 13 viewers. You guys are just in time to watch us add some pieces to the space station. We're about to produce it here at our construction dock, and then our tug is going to pull it into position. What we're adding is more storage for rocket parts so that our workshop here around 1 can build even larger craft. I am using extraplanetary launch pads, and this is my first orbital dockyard. It should be done. Let's check on it. Alright, so we're going to finalize the build for the expansion. It's going to pop up on top, but we're not going to release it yet because we want it to stay there until our tug can move into place and grab it. Now, the tug itself is a drone. It can also fit a Kerbal on board. It also has enough delta V to fly all the way down to the moon surface and back if it wants to. And that was Rocket Guy with the follow. Thank you, sir. Okay, so we are going to undock. That was from one of our other expansions that the tug put in place. That's a smelter. The smelter can convert ore to rocket parts. It can also convert ore into metal. Or no, it can't convert ore directly to rocket parts, but it can convert ore into metal, which the workshop down here can convert into rocket parts. It can also convert scrap metal from destroyed craft. Those are recycling bins that can take retired satellites. So the satellites are driven in, they get recycled, go into this scrap metal container, which is currently not full. And then after it's scrapped, or the scrap metal is used by the smelter to create more metal and more rocket parts. So a very complex system here. Where's our scrap metal amount on board right now? Ah, here it is. So we can contain up to 2,435 scrap metal, and rocket parts are already being created from the scrap. Alright, so we now have our tug adrift. And who was that with the follow? That was Ekim the Brave. Thank you, sir. Welcome aboard. Alright, so just so that you guys know, the main engines on this have been cut off. Only this engine ever is active. It's set to 10% thrust because it's a maneuvering engine. Very hyper efficient vehicle, over 3,900 delta V, can be used for a very long time. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. And what we're going to do is this has some docking ports on board specifically meant to both extend the docking capacity of the station as well as to allow it to be maneuvered. The container itself is a rocket parts container with more container space for even more rocket parts, which will allow us to build even larger craft at this construction dock. So you can kind of get where I'm going with this. More parts, more craft. This thing becomes kind of like the Mars dockyards in Star Trek. Ooh, okay, get our controls going here. All right, let's get into docking mode, make it easy. Down is up is down, shift is forward, control is back. And we're going to dock right there, make that target. And actually, I'm going to turn off the RC thrusters temporarily because just for turning it's a waste. You'll just slowly drift to the right here and a little bit forward. Up. Now the station exists in a north normal position, so this docking port should also be roughly in that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to set my focus to the docking clamp itself. We're going to pilot in from a first-person view to make it easier, because you can't really tell if you're lined up unless you do. Although we're getting close enough, we might be able to get a soft dock just by accident. There's a little bit of debris in the way, but we got a mostly clear view here. This is going to be easy. It's going to drift right in. Oh, come on. Work it, work it. Bingo. I learned that trick from, I think Dr. Doofus was earlier today. No. It was Gaming with Saber who taught me that one. That's right. So Gaming with Saber, awesome guy, great streamer. Alright, now that we have that, we can go ahead and release this part. So now it is its own separate craft, and we're going to maneuver this piece to the far side of the station. Now to do that, we're going to need to control it from that docking port, but we're not going to do that yet. Reason being is right now it's in a perfect position to give it a gentle nudge forward with our standard engine. Plasmas are very, very weak and act a lot like docking engine. Are great for just giving things just the most delicate little nudge. There's a lot of friction. Just wanting to keep it in contact, I guess. We're not in docking mode. Let's do that right quick. And I am not controlling it from the right position. Alright, now we're lifting it a little, so that'll help us with our maneuver. Now what I think I'm going to do is I may just keep controlling it from here, because I can easily bring it in position just by flipping it down, but I'm going to have some room and clearance to get it into position. Got to think of where the thing's going to be once I rotate. Now it's starting to want to drift backwards, so we're going to give it a little bit of a nudge forward. Now if I'm lucky, and I've done this right, we're going to drift this thing so close that it's going to go right into place on its own. I'll just let the drag do it. A little bit of help. Come on. There we go. I think it got it. Rubbing faces. And there we go. We got our new rocket part extension on. We now got a very, very large rocket part capacity. Let's see, where is it? Here we are. So we're up to 6,227 rocket part production capability, which means we'll be able to handle some pretty big craft here soon. And with all this fuel on board, we'll be able to fuel quite a large variety of different vehicles. I think I may just leave that dock there like it is until we get our next piece. No reason to move it, really. The other thing I need to know is, does the engineer currently have junk in his inventory? The mod rocket guy is extraplanetary launch pads. That's the one that enables you to build things in space. It is pretty awesome. And with the combined ore smelter, as well as the workshop here, and the rocket parts containers I have, and these pieces to scrap old satellites, as well as the piece here to deploy a new craft, I can pretty much extend this station as much as I want to. And combine that with the ability of the engineers, I can literally take that off if I wanted to, put another docking port here, then reattach that at some other point to a new extension to the base. I could probably build one of these trusses here, stick it here, and start building a giant lattice in orbit of the moon with increasing and just growing capacity to support more and more ships. Oh yeah, I'm on the engineer. What am I doing? Hey little guy, what do you have in here? Yep, he has a broken solar panel. So the thing about this particular solar panel type is that it's dangerous when it's broken. It has a collider that is not properly resolved, and so the panel still effectively is there even though it's invisible. So what we're going to do is I want to try to scrap this thing for its pieces. So this little guy is going to go up and hang out for a few seconds at near zero velocity near one of the scrapping ports so that we can throw the broken panel in and recycle it. Hopefully without accidentally recycling him. But that would be kind of problematic. Beautiful view there of the Demon Star, Kerbal, and, well, if I didn't hide it, Urban. Why he's wanting to burn fuel so much, I have no idea. Now, the thing about KAS is that even though parts may be in the engineer's inventory, they retain their mass and weight and dimensions. That means that panel he's holding right now is greatly increasing his inertia and his effective mass. So even though that EVA propellant looks like it's a lot, it's going to be actually difficult to work with until we get rid of that panel. One of the prime reasons I really want to get rid of the broken panel. So I'm actually going to stick him off to the side here so that it's not actually in the collision domain of the recycler, and we're going to try to get him. Okay, we got that set as a target, so we know our relative inertial velocity. I need to see our XYZ and where our momentum is. Okay, so we need to bring that down. Bring it sideways, and then bring it directly back. Keep tapping until we're stopped. Dead relative to station is what I want. Good enough. Alright, so we're going to toggle over to the station now. We will activate the recycler. Switch back to the Kerbal. Grab the panel in his inventory and just drop it right in front of the recycler. Without actually connecting it, it's just going to be, I'm just going to click, which will drop it. It won't actually be, see, gone. One recycled solar panel. Now what we'll do is when we deploy a new section to the station later, we're going to put that solar panel back on board that piece and use it as a delivery system so that the panel will be present. The Kerbal will take it back into the fixed panel back into its inventory, redeliver it to its installation position. Right now, we have 3 of these panels, and we need 4. 1, 2, and the third one's on the far side over there. Technically, this station doesn't even need those panels. It has 4 fission reactors on board, molten salt, and thermoelectric generators. But these are auxiliary. Basically, they're a safety net if anything ever went wrong with the reactors. So, thinking realism. And also providing, useful extra power in the case we need to charge something quickly. So I want that panel back, but I can build it onto a new piece of the station and then just relocate it with the engineer's help back to where it's supposed to be. That panel got broken when we were putting one of the pieces of the assembly earlier. I wasn't practiced yet with maneuvering off-center of mass items into docking positions using the tug, but now I am, so I don't make those same errors anymore. But I bumped a panel and yep, bad things happened. Fortunately not fatal things, just bad things. We had a 154 on a panel. Alright. Now we're waiting for a couple of maneuver nodes to come up here on some missions. But let's go see what we have to do at the station. Or at the Space Center. While that is still processing its parts. Oh, by the way, there's a refinery on board this station as well that turns ore into fuel and monopropellant. So ore is used quite a bit at this station. One thing we don't have yet is we don't have a ore retrieval unit that can go down to Moon and return to the station. I'm actually working on that. We had been working on a mobile refinery that could go down to Moon and refine stuff on the Moon, but then I thought about it and I was like, we don't really need a refinery on that ship. We just need a reactor that can power the drills, extract the ore, and then take it back up to the station. And then it solves all of our problems. We can refine in orbit, build in orbit, and send stuff from orbit down to the Moon and back. Alright, so let's see what I got him going in mission control. That's an easy one. Okay. So I love your ambition in Chief Engineer. But there's just one problem. Draugr and Lich are both light years away. Light years. We don't have faster than light travel yet. I can see that you have a duration of 200 years built into this. Oh my God, look at the advance. Challenge me. Yeah? Yeah? You could say that. I don't think I'm ready for that one yet. Oh, good Lord. There's no way we can do that. Well, in 200 years, yes. Maybe. I don't think the campaign that we're ever going to see that much time on stream. Not without a lot of time warping. Oh, good grief. No, not doing it. Sorry. Yeah, you want to. This is doable. Orbit the sun, that's not too hard. Escape of the sun, that was a challenging one, but we can probably do that too. All right. Okay, so thing about that one is we're going to have to wait till the other tourists get back to do it. All right, so let's see what we got in the standard, well, in our mission list here. Active, we have atmospheric surveys of Duna, atmospheric surveys of Eve. This one we can do right now. Position Mimus, M700, and adjusted orbit of Mimus. By the way, for those of you who do not know what Lich and Draugr are, this is going to take a lot of scrolling out, but bear with me. So there's Kerbin. There's Kerbal's system with the sun. There's one of the outer planets, part of Outer Planets mod. Two of them, Rakia. There's our first star, Niobe. That thing's light years away. There's TRAPPIST-1, also light years away. There's Cervantes, even more light years away. And then finally, out here at the very edge of, well, no, there's also K23, even more light years away. And then there's Lich. If this were like a miniaturized galaxy, Lich would be literally on the far edge of it. Lich happens to be a pulsar. And its accompanying planet is Rerouter. That's where it wanted us to go. And I don't have warp engines yet. I don't think that would have been doable even in 200 years. Well, we probably would have warp engines by 200 years. But then that would also stall out our campaign because we wouldn't be able to do any other missions. That thing would be holding us slot until we got the tech to actually do it, which would take a very long time. Therefore, not something we're ready to do yet. Could we probably send a probe right now and get it all the way to Lich and Driver? We did a lot of gravity assist slingshots. We probably could. Would it still take centuries to get there? Absolutely. And back to Memphis. And also, for those of you wondering where the extra planets and the star systems come from, there's two separate mods for that. That's Outer Planets and Interstellar Adventure. I've got both of them installed because more planets the merrier, including star systems. Okay, so we need to find our satellites and our relays and our scanners. And we need the M700 around Duna. It might be easier if we just focus in on Duna. Or not Duna. Is it Duna? Was it Duna? Minmus, not Duna. Alright, so where is Minmus? Right, so that's the orbit it wants it in. You just got to find the correct satellite, and I think it's our orbital satellite that it's wanting us to change. I don't see the satellite it's wanting us to. Oh, that's fine. Or no, still. I click that. Oh, there we are. So that's the one it's wanting us to tweak, and we're already coming up on its inflection point. No kidding, Doc. That would be like a lifelong mission. Sublight. We'd have to have wormhole tech to do this one. I don't think we have wormhole tech yet. Alright, so this is the one that's wanting us to adjust. It's a very small sat. Fortunately, it was delivered without really using up any of its payload. Okay, so we're coming up on a descending node. And we will want to go normal. And we are out of comms. How did that happen? I'll have to fast forward till we can get comms. There we are, we got comms back. What is establishing comms to? Oh, okay, so our satellite was simply out of range. Alright, this is going to be kind of tricky. We're wanting to get this at just the right timing, hitting an ascending node or a descending node with something able to view it. I think we're good now. This is one of our first satellites, which is why this is a little bit tricky. It's only got the Mark 1 antenna. Plenty of fuel, but only a Mark 1 antenna. So there's our ascending node, and we're just about upon it. You got to adjust by 40 degrees, and we want to do anti-normal, which we're already at. Hopefully we don't lose comms while I'm in the middle of a burn. It'll just burn its fuel out and throw it to who knows where. Fortunately, it's also very light. This orbit change should be very quick. It gave it to us already. That's funny. I didn't even get close. I think it gave it to us already. The purple disappeared. Vision game. Make up your mind. Oh, I guess we got a hold for 10 seconds. Hello. Did we do it? Ensure that the probe has an antenna and can generate power. Yeah, it should be able to do both. It's got the sun. Got panels. This is funny. I never actually extended its solar panels. Been running on the side panel all this time. I guess I overbuilt this thing. Not that that surprises me. I tend to overbuild a lot. That says securely the probe has antenna and can got an antenna and create its own power. So what's the problem here, mission? Anybody got a solution on this one? Anybody have any idea why this mission's not completing? Tell you what, let's go back to the tracking station, go back to it and see if it doesn't pick up that it's got an antenna. Maybe it's where we went to it and it was without any radio at first. It triggered it to not mark that off. All right, so reloading the probe here. All right, now the text has an antenna. So that's what it was. When we switched to it earlier, it didn't have an antenna on board. Well, it did have an antenna on board, but the antenna wasn't working because it wasn't actually in CurveNet. So apparently part of that requirements for that is that it has to be in CurveNet when you load the craft. And now we're good. It's been a couple of days. Let's go do a science run right quick and check the main labs and see what we've produced. Because we may be able to unlock some more tech. In particular, I hope we can get some more efficiency on our thermal ramjets. Alright, so we're going to knock off our relays and our probes. We don't need those for the moment, just our stations and our labs and our landers. Science Station 1 and the rescue station are right next to each other right now. Could theoretically dock them, but meh. The rescue station is purely a rescue vessel. It sits in low orbit, and there's a craft that cannot make re-entry. It's designed to go to that craft and recover any crew or data that may be on board. Then it can potentially dock with or gently nudge the vessel into a descent orbit. My space program is actually made with layers upon layers of protection for Kerbals in space. The only time I've ever actually lost a Kerbal in this campaign was when I pulled a 126G turn in a re-entering space plane because I thought it might be able to turn over and go back to the station while traveling 1,700 meters per second. I hadn't had a lot of sleep at that point, and I don't know decision making that went through my head when I decided that was a good idea. But needless to say, the poor Kerbal ended up scattered across the landscape. See how much power we got here. We're going to need, for that much science, at least a half of the electric charge, so we need to get in front of Kerbal. Kerbin, get out of the way. You're blocking the sun. Seriously, get out of the way. Now, I've had a weird bug the past few days, and I still can't pin down what's causing it. Our panel arrays do not like to turn themselves anymore for some reason. If you have any clues on this, it would be greatly appreciated as to how to solve that. Yep, they just sit here looking stupid. Oops. Did not mean to tip, meant to rotate. So we will use manual rotation to bring these panels into right facing. Wait, are they rotating to stay against Kerbal? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I heard there was a bug with the Copernicus pack causing solar issues, and I think I can see what they're talking about now. Alright, so last time we fixed this by doing this. We'll see if we can reset them. If it doesn't reset, I'll have to leave the craft with them closed, come back to the craft, and then reload them again. Or reopen them again. Usually that solves it. Okay, looks like simply reopening them appears to have fixed it. There's our power. Sweet, sweet power. This is also one of our earlier station designs. It doesn't have any actual reactors on board. It purely relies on solar. I'm kind of glad that we've gotten reactor designs now because, as you can see, in the world of mods, sometimes even solar panels aren't entirely reliable. I may have to send up a craft with a nuclear plant on it simply to connect to this. I wonder if this actually will produce electric. Got a Nerva on it. I don't think it actually produces power. Come on, panel 3. Wakey, wakey. Facing the right direction. Nope, panel 3 has just gone entirely rogue. I think we got enough though that we can charge up. Fortunately, we only needed about half to be able to send home our available science, so go ahead and transmit. I think I'll have to reset that one by coming back to this later and re-extending it. Alright, we got all of our sites received. If we got any new data to process. Gravity scans. Pressure scans, more gravity scan. Temperature scan, seismic scan. EVA report. Most of this stuff's from Moon. Okay, we are full on data. Yep, back up to full. Got a nice, sizable production rate thanks to our very experienced scientist on board. We got Bama Hunter doing a good chunk of the workload here. And there's Lapis Fox and Steamy Kerman. Back to the tracking station here. We'll go on to the next station. Yeah, that was our first science station in orbit. So that is like one of our very, very earliest station designs. But the crew has been working up there for so long and has had so much data made available to them that we haven't had an opportunity to retire it. It never quite gets empty. Kind of like Skylab, they just kept sending it experiments to do. Made it last well outside its useful or expected useful life expectancy. Alright, this is Moon Lab 1. This one's actually on the surface of the moon, not far away from the Armstrong Memorial. I actually tried to land at the Armstrong Memorial, but it was very early game. I didn't actually have a marker for it, so it was kind of rough guessing at where I was going to land at. Ended up getting on a side of a hill in a very dangerous and precarious position on a steep slope and barely was able to stabilize. So when you look at this lab, it looks really weird, and it looks very weird for a reason. It's on a hillside that has about a 5 to 10 degree slope. Tried to land a small probe that had a reactor and a refinery and some drills on it to refine ore into fuel to get the thing recovered so it could come home once it got finished processing its science. Crashed the probe, and the engineer on board actually had to go through the process of reassembling the probe into a makeshift fuel factory, which is right here. So we have the piece of the probe here. And that piece of that probe is connected to this refinery. And it's got several radiators on it trying to keep it cool. Got power still. Electric and megajoules are good. And so it's just staying within its max efficiency potential, producing oxidizer, liquid fuel, and gradually filling these tanks up over time. Because these are very small drills, that's a very small refiner. But the goal is to, once these guys complete all their science, to be able to eventually return home. It's just going to be a very long time out. And they have a lot of data to send home, and we have a full bar to work with. We'll go ahead and send it. Fortunately, those gigantors are giving it quite a bit of power. So again, we had a failed mission. The probe actually crashed next to this lab on this slope. It wouldn't stabilize, it tipped over, broke into pieces. But good old, let's see, who was it we had here? Bill. Bill went out, grabbed all the pieces, got the probe to right itself just enough to set flat on its bottom, attached the drills, reattached them to the right altitude to make sure they drilled properly, took the radiators off the probe core itself, slapped it onto the Vertitron here, so it has heat the ability to dissipate heat. And then after he did all that, he slapped his fuel tank on board with ore capacity, and that allows this to collect the ore from that mining device now. Goes into this tank, then is refined by the convertitron and sent into the tanks, which are slowly filling over time. And I mean a lot of time. And you can see the ore is being consumed by the processor at the same rate being produced, which is a good thing. What I do is I tend to switch it back and forth between liquid fuel and oxidizer rather than doing it at the same time. You do it at the same time, the heat starts running away and you lose efficiency. See where we have two processes running, the heat's starting to build up again. We'll see how far it goes. If it goes beyond 176, I'm just going to leave it on one process at a time. Yep, it needs one process at a time, so we will stick it on liquid. Got our data? We got all of our data. We have room for 50 more, or science. We need 50 more data on the craft. And due to the fact that, well, that's 26, so that's half. That would be way too much. There's 7. That's 33. Or does it need? It needs 14. There's 11. That's about as good as we're going to get. We'll have to keep all the rest of the data for now. So for those wondering, I explained that this was near Armstrong's Memorial. It's right over there. We'll switch over to Minmus Moon temperature probe so you can see it right quick. So here we are. Oh, what's that? Oh, that's that scrap heap that's orbiting at equatorial level. I'll leave it there to mark the equator. It's only about 12 kilometers above the surface of the moon. But it's in a perfect orbit, circular orbit around the equator. So, great marker. Even though it's scrap, I've never eliminated it. Leave it there as a navigational guidance utility. So here's Armstrong's memorial on the moon, if you've never seen it before. And yes, I did land a temperature probe right on top of it. And there's our mission flag. I don't know if it'll let us read the flag without actually having a Kerbal there to read it. I could definitely place a marker at it. Maybe I can switch to it. There we go. Nope, I'll let you read it without a Kerbal there to actually look at the contents of it. Alright, on to the next space station. So many labs. There's the emergency rendezvous station. It doesn't actually do science. We don't stop there. Mimas Polar Lab North. Sitting right on top of the North Pole of Mimas. Unfortunately, it's not in a spot where it gets 24/7 sunlight like I'd hoped it'd be. But it's still a good spot for a station. Gives you a nice view of the ecliptic. Good night, Doc. I'd have been a little bit late on that farewell. Alright, here's our Mimas lab. I can grab its science because I know it should have some built up by now. Yep, just like the others, about 200. I need some power for it. And this is one of our earlier models. It doesn't actually have a nuclear reactor, just nuclear engines. We are completely out of power now. Sulfur ball comes there. We are back into view and back to full power. This one doesn't even have extendable solar panels. It just has the flat panels all around. Alright, we'll begin transmitting its data. Got it. Okay, let's just check and see if it has anything else to process. How much data does it need right now? About 50. Top it off. There's about half that. That'd be too much. There we go, almost a full. And for crew here, we have Lemmy, Homicide Diaz, Teague, and Jade of Mar. A few of my common streamers here are regulars. And if you stick around, I might actually recruit you into my space program. So always that perk there. If you ever want to become a Kerbal, if you ever want to join the mission, just let me know. Positions opening on new space and orbital labs every day. All right, let's go check now. Well, let's see. Memphis Lab. We got all the stations. I mean the big stations, the new stations. Now we stopped at Kerbal Observatory, but it's been moved. We had placed it in orbit of the sun, thinking that we might be able to get science there with our labs, but the labs don't work in the orbit of Kerbal because there's no science multiplier of any kind applied there. So what we did is we sent it to Memphis, and it'll be there soon. We have a maneuver node coming up in about 7 days to get this into this periapsis. That should take it to 90 degrees or 90 kilometers above Eve. So we'll stop at Urbandruck Station next. This is one of our first large orbital stations. It is a refueling depot. It's called an ORDAL, O-R-D-A-L, Orbital Refueling Depot and Lab. And then there's the ORDAL DYs, and the DY on the end stands for dockyard. That's what we got around Moon. So I'm actually, where we got different lab types, I'm codifying them into what their operations are. So they're ORDAL or ORDAL DI, or ORDAL D, however you want to pronounce it. You see, most people, or a lot of people, play the game for the, just the science. I do it for the infrastructure. I want to build crazy highways in space, and this is my way of doing it. Best way to set up a highway is start with the gas stations because people will need gas to get where they're going. And then craft can basically dock at these stations. They can get repairs at these stations, and then they can go on to their next orbital body where if they need to refuel again, they can, or they can get more repairs. That's the plan. Get the repairs and support equipment in place before you put in anything else. So this was an earlier model. Notice it does not actually have a dockyard on it. Instead, it has this little bitty connector port. I actually need to send up a dockyard and connect it to the top of this, unlike a delivery system of some kind. But for right now, it's just got a docking port or connector port, 4 large tanker ports, and then 1 or 2 of each type, Clampetron Junior and Clampetron Senior, so you can dock up to 8 craft of pretty much any dock size. And just like the moon station, it has a very wide suite of power supply and fuel supply. Alright, let's check its science on board. This is one of our new science labs. This comes with the mod Interstellar Extended. It's a lab that can contain up to 2,000 science and 1,000 data. And your Kerbals actually will slowly gain experience the longer that they're manning this particular module. Let's see, they have 333 science. And due to the fact we have nuclear reactors on board, this station is never out of power. These panels here are almost purely for aesthetics, but they also can serve as theoretical emergency backup power. Or complementary power if you have a lot of craft docked and need a large power supply. We got all of our lights on board here a bit. So we are now uploading our science. And that upload is complete. I accidentally transmit all of our data from this station. Surely I didn't. That button right there is very dangerous. Anyway, they still look like they got a decent supply of science anyway, so it's not anything to worry about. They have a lot of data to process already. Let's see. Looks like it's good to go, so let's go ahead on to the next orbital station. This one will be around Minmus. Now my long-term plan is when we actually get warp travel, I want to convert these stations into interstellar carriers capable of deploying a dockyard to very long distance. Once the dockyard's there, if it had enough rocket parts, to be able to assemble a ore extraction probe, go down to whatever body it's around, extract ore, and then return. And in doing so, you create the ability to basically have a Kerbal Space Center in the system where you send that station. The only thing you can't do is you can't automatically, fuel the crafts to max and stuff like you can in vehicle assembly. You're actually going to have to extract all the fuel for it on site. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is an hour and 29 minutes in, and just as I expected, we finally had our memory leak crash. So I'm going to have to restart Kerbals here. I do not know what's going on with that memory leak. They really need to get that fixed. I mean, they've gotten it better since previous releases, but still upsetting that it cuts out after a while. It may just take a couple minutes here for it to reload. Got a lot of mods on board, so if you're wondering what my mod list is, Just go back and replay this section. That's all of them. All 54 of them. Now, I will warn you, if you decide you want to play this way, that the more parts mods you add, and the more system mods you add with orbital bodies, the longer it takes the game to load. Because it gets progressively larger and larger on the inventory of items that it has to bring up. So your load screen will stay up for a little while. This is going to take about, 2 to 3 minutes. So I want to call a quick intermission right quick. Go grab some food and drink. I'd encourage you to do the same, and we will resume as soon as everything's back up and running again. Oh, folks, I'm back from getting my snacks, and we're still loading, of course. It'll be up soon, though. It's finally gotten to the module manager part, and then it goes pretty quick at this point. But just wanted to comment on that mission glitch earlier. That's like somebody from NASA suggesting that we go on current technology to Andromeda. Good luck with that, right? So that would have literally taken all 200 of those 200 years to do. Again, the first mission I had to turn down this entire campaign. But we are restocking stacks now. That's a very apt description. So, Ecom, Evil, Rocket Guy, Side you? Anything in particular you guys like to see me do once we get reloaded? I'm always up for inspiration. I do have to build Skylinks sometime soon. I think I'll reserve that for tomorrow, though. Or maybe this weekend. So that's going to be a lot of artistic work. For those of you who don't know, Skylinks is a transformer. I'll post a link to his picture in the chat. So it's based on a space shuttle. It's one of my favorite transformers from Generation 1 from back in the 80s. So I'm pondering actually Kerbalizing him. See how it comes out. I don't think I'll be able to get him to do his transformation or anything like that, but I might be able to make a static sculpture of him that flies. Alright, so back to our Twitch campaign here. And the plastic sound you're hearing is me opening my favorite snack, the Milky Way. And we have collected about 1,576 heck prior to the crash. Go ahead and buy something with that. What can we unlock? I really do kind of need that. The large rotor wheels would kind of help too, but more importantly, there's ion propulsion over here that we need to work on. And some experimental science to get us even more science. Oh, that's the path to warp drive. Red telescope, computer core, violet beam power. Ooh. Magneto-inertial fusion engine. What are you? Vista fusion engine. Ooh. I'm drooling right now. Neither one of these do anything in atmosphere, but they are amazing in orbit. Especially this one. Wow, that is a monster. I don't know about you guys, but the fusion is screaming, grab me. I've got to see what these are like. So we'll finish collecting the rest of our science, then we're going to come back to the VAB and play with those new toys. Alright, and this is our Minmus station. Not the other early station. It has had a sentinel at the top of it, but we found out sentinels are only really useful in orbit of Rabaul, so this is actually kind of a waste. We ended up getting rid of those on the third design of the station. Every time we found a flaw in it, we overhauled it or redesigned it, removed the flaw, and improved it in some other manner, like adding the dockyard. Dockyard was the biggest improvement yet. All right, first off, let's send our science home. If you're wondering why I haven't picked up the rubber wheels yet, even though they're so cheap compared to all the tech I'm picking up, I favor aircraft wheels for my rovers. They're more resilient and bounce better. And then I use some form of rocket propulsion for the rover itself, rather than using electrical engines. It just seems to work better for me. I'll show you an example of what one of my rovers looks like in just a moment. It's on Duna right now. Alright, our science has been transmitted. And we will just go ahead and add any extra data to the lab. And it is now almost full on data, so it's in good shape. Alright, back to the moon station, see where its science is at. Okay, we've already seen its science home. Doesn't look like it currently has any data process, any addition to what it currently has. But we are done with our science room. Now I'll show you briefly the Duna rover that I had built and show you why I prefer using aircraft wheels over rover. I think the Duna rover is still accidentally labeled a probe or some kind. Will give us an opportunity to rename it too. I think it was a relay. There it is. Call these spider rovers. You'll see why in just a moment. So here's why I prefer the rovers to have landing gear. I use a 6-way design I call a spider format on the front and the back. This makes it so that even if the rover is not exactly, well, we gotta wait till the satellite gets overhead in order to, doesn't have the strongest antenna on. I think it's still working on a, Mark 1. This is an early model design. We sent this near the very start of the campaign. It took like 6 months to get here. But it came with a satellite, and that satellite is sitting overhead now, giving it a signal. So, the six-legged design allows it to roll whenever it finally runs out of fuel. So it can still have some usefulness, even skip. This one was only sent here to collect temperature readings. It can also balance on 2 wheels. Look at that. This is Duna. This rover is balancing perfectly on 2 wheels, like a motorcycle. Now, what that means is that due to the lack of friction, even the smallest bit of fuel goes an extremely long way. I had a design like this that I sent to Duna in an earlier campaign, and it went all the way to the pole, to the equator of Duna, at 50 meters per second on exactly 1 tank of fuel. I mean, it emptied itself out on the trip, but it made it all the way from the pole, all the way to the equator. And part of the reason it was able to do that is because the way it's stabilized. Got a forward and a rear stabilizer, and those stabilizers allow it to keep control whenever it bounces, and or it's using landing gear. Landing gear tolerance is 15 meters per second. So the only thing that has any risk of breaking is anything that is outside the radius of these wheels or within the edge of these pieces, as long as we're traveling below 50. Like if we have a vertical and horizontal speed that combined are less than 50, there is no way of breaking the craft. So any speed up to like 45 meters per second, unless you're also falling at a high rate of speed, is perfectly safe. And since it uses solar panels, it never runs out of fuel. It can sit there all day like this. By the way, this craft is part of the Ares delivery system, which I currently have up on Kerbal X. You can adopt this model to do as much science as you want. Currently, this one was only meant for a temperature mission, so all it has on board is a science thermometer. And I think we already collected the data here for it, so you don't even see it in Science Here and Now list. Oh, wait, it's just showing updating. Yep, there it is. Over 800 meters per second remaining of fuel. Alright, so back to the Science Space Center, and let's have fun with these new engines that we found. I want to see what can be done with them or how big they are. Now these have no atmospheric thrust, which means they'll have to be orbited. They can't be part of a single stage system. They have to be orbited. Or alternatively, they can be built at Moon space dock. Let's see what the rocket part count cost is on them. I'm betting they're not cheap. Even small ones. Might be good for the station though, because I know we can deliver we can get the station to orbit without taking any fuel off of its, or using any thrust off of its main stage. Let's throw out a probe core, something to use as a mount here. We also got the new spaceplane engines, the Sabres. Haven't made use of them yet, though. Lithium, liquid deuterium, and tritium. Does it burn all of those? Let's see. That's only 50 kilonewtons? Burns lithium. Part count, let's see, 80 to 2,480 units just for one engine. That's an expensive engine. That's as expensive as some craft are. I'll show you. So that engine costs 2,480, no, 2,400 for one craft. So let's take a look at that lander that we made, the tug that we used for the space station. The moon hopper. This tweak scale, it breaks this, but we always just it works. They're all back in one piece. So that one engine costs 2,400 rocket parts. This only costs 972, and it's an entire craft. That gives you an idea how expensive fusion is. Not cheap. That we'd have to find a way to get the nuclear fuels in orbit, because I'm pretty sure we don't have any deuterium or anything like that on Earth. I think we might have some deuterium and lithium. I know we have deuterium, but I don't think lithium. That might be a problem. Station, we have to check its inventory and see. So that's one fusion engine. Where's the other? Let's see, we'll just search fusion. So this thing's called this. Oh my God, that's huge. So again, 80 rocket parts to, oh wow. That requires 9,600 rocket parts for one engine. Is it a diode laser? Can it be rescaled? Only bigger. Unbelievable. You'd require a very special craft to get this into orbit. How much does that weigh? 35.61 tons. Use tritium, deuterium, deuterium, tritium. Well, one thing's for sure, whatever you connected to it would go for quite a distance with that much delta V if you only had a probe core on it. That'll take you anywhere. Cost of being huge. No way to make it smaller. We'd have to build this one outside. 4 gigawatt reactor. Amazing. Alright, for right now though, let's go back to our orbital station. We have a mission to conduct outside the scope of normal operations. We have a Kerbal who has been stranded on the surface of the moon since just about the start of this game. We're going to go see them. We're going to use the space elevator, aka the moon hopper. Where is he right now? Down here. We're coming up on him. It'll be a good spot to drop moon hopper from. Moon hopper is more than just a tug. It is a ship of many hats. It is extremely useful. I think I will upload it once we're done with this. Because everybody should enjoy this craft. It's amazing. Alright, so let's go grab moon hopper right quick. We will detach it. Should be refueled if I'm not mistaken. Let me make sure monoprop and everything is full. Yep. Put in oxygen. Not full, but intentionally not full. Just make sure it's full on board here. Good. Right, now remember, this thing has a probe core on board. It does not actually need to be piloted. It's not a requirement. Therefore, the little seat on board can be used to retrieve Kerbals from the surface of Mun. We get a recovery mission from Mun. We can take this thing down below. Now, we're already in a great position. We want to be firing anti-normal, which is south, in order to reach our Kerbal. So all we need to do is get away from the station, make sure that we don't actually impact it. Oops. Oops. Yes, engage, thank you. So first off, I'll get back on our 180 here. Reorient, lift it to the surface of Kerbin. So down would be Kerbin. You're facing, technically, now we don't want rotation, we actually want docking. So turn on RCS, just move a little bit to the right. And there we go, no longer in orbit, no longer any threat of collision with any parts of the station, so we will turn on our staging mode again. We've got one engine active, that's all we need for right now. Staging, thank you. And we will begin adjusting our orbit so that it becomes in line with the Kerbal. He is our target. Notice we have 3,973 delta V, more than enough to make it to the surface and return. Now that we've safely maneuvered away, we need to activate our other 4 actual landing engines. They're the only ones going to be able to give us enough thrust that's actually useful. Now that we have all 4 engines turned on, we'll actually notice that we get useful burn. We'll lock antigrade. Bring ourselves into a position where we should pass almost directly above NJ Brain, who's also a Dream Watcher. He joined at the very first part of the stream. I haven't seen him in a little while, I'm not sure what happened to him. But we haven't yet rescued his Kerbal from the moon because we at the time didn't have very efficient craft, but now we have unbelievably efficient craft capable of more than doing the task. So we are now in line with the proper descent. Set ourselves to target and retrograde. And just wait for the Kerbal to be roughly beneath us. Now we're at the point where we need to start killing our forward momentum. We'll go a little bit further. We can turn off our RCS. It's really a waste and we need that to dock. So we're going to use just purely, for maneuvering, we're just purely going to use our engine. Then go ahead and deploy our gear. We're also going to need our panels. And we will simply fuel enough velocity to start causing our trajectory to fall. We can slow that down now. We're really getting low on our velocity number. We're going to guide this down and towards our target. Like we may have overkilled it just a little. Easy fix for that is to simply burn in the opposite direction. Put the orbit a little past the target, just make sure I want to hit it. There we go. Before I mess things up too badly, we should have a relay on here that I need to extend. Where is that? Cover it up, or did I remove it by accident? Sure. That antenna. There it is. And that'll make sure we don't lose curve again. Alright, we are making good speed on target. We're right in the ballpark where we want to be. Need to change over to a surface orientation. And we just push the ball and push it right towards the target. We are dead on target for our descent. Now 13 kilometers up and traveling at quite a clip, we need to start braking a little bit. As you can see, we've got enough TWR to really rapidly brake if we need to. Make sure our gear is down. We're actually only 3,000 meters above the surface, so we will set our speed. How's that fuel dump burn there? Not very efficient, but it gets the job done in a pinch. Great for a suicide burn. We are close to ground contact. We need to get to safe speed down to 8 or less. Without overpowering it. Go. Closing quickly on the target. Practically landing on top of the target. Hope they're not subject to exploding due to heat exposure. Very gentle touchdown, just like we wanted. Thing engine, of a hop. Alright, 27 meters away from the target Kerbal. We are now in control of NJZ Brain. Now NJ's story is that he was part of a mission, and then his craft type has a cockpit that ended up not loading after the 1.3 patch, causing his mission to instantly fail, but leaving him present. So that mission got erased. We had to delete it because we didn't have a choice. But he remained. Now he is lost no longer. I'll send this little command seat. And now he can return back to the station with the docking probe. Now, it may seem like we might have a fuel problem, but we don't, or an electrical problem. We have megajoules on board, and megajoules produce electric, or are electric. Alright, the docking station is at a good orbital rendezvous point, so we will go ahead and redock. Now we want to control from the probe core here. We're going to want to fire to the southeast when we launch, or no, northeast. That will be up into our route. Now we just want some northeast momentum. Otherwise, we just want the orbit to go out. We will fire the celestial pole. And we'll fire back northeast. Want this to intersect this orbital plane. So our orbit needs to intersect the station's orbital plane right about at collapse. A little bit too far east. So what we're going to do is we're going to just rotate a little normal. Very slowly. Actually, best bet's to go out a little further than the station and wait for it to catch up. That is exactly what we will do. I need to bring that basic. There we go, we got rendezvous. Alright, so we'll just accelerate around to that point. Then we will start adjusting our orbit to meet our station. Now we can go in the visible view. We want to retract our gear because we don't want them to be in conflict with the station. We have megajoules. We're also going to go ahead and retract our solar panels so they don't have any risk of breaking off. And we are now in render range because it's taking forever for the station to load. Whoa, 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 what is it doing? I hate when it does that. Render range causes so much problems. Overshot our station. Fortunately, we're still within 2 kilometers. We just got to completely reverse our inertia. There it goes again, stuttering because of render. That. Alright, we are rendered. Back to maneuvering engines. We still have a Kerman on board here. He's just sitting in his seat. That's why I call this a very, very valuable utility craft. We are drifting in. Oops. He's kind of going for simple turns. We need to select a docking port. We're going to turn so that Duna is on the, or the surface is on the left, now is on the right. I think I see a good docking port for us. And we will just drift together. We're properly rotated to join with the station. I'll bump it. Bumped it. Bumped it just a little. Oh, I forgot to link my nose. There we are. Magnet's got it. Oop, I need to help it a little. Go, magnets, go. Got this. Bingo. Back to base. And why I love this craft. Where is our prop? Being filled. Working on locks as well. Sure of that. And that'll be filled back up in the. We really do need a miner that we can send down to the surface. How many rocket parts do we have? 6,227. Still have a lot of metal we can refine. And some scrap metal. Okay. Let's see what we can do in the way of making an ore extractor. Well, let's just leave the NJ hanging in the command seat. Reason to leave it. Just hang out there, orbiting above the moon. I'm betting we can probably base it off the hopper, in fact. Since this isn't actually going to be a hopper, we don't need science. We just need the ore. And we need the docking port. So we'll keep the docking port. And everything about that part here can just go. Same for this. And this. Oh, it needs a communications device, so we'll leave that. But all the science on the front can just go bye-bye. That'll reduce our total mass. ore hauler. Gonna need a better battery. Where's the other route? I hear it. Alright, so we need an ore tank. We don't care about refining it, we just care about transporting it. Control that hold. I want to find out. Not big enough. Up to 300, that's not bad. Well, still to the under a full load. I need to get a little more fuel to go with it. Oh, please unlock my controls. Thank you very much. Too big. There we go. 3,000 Delta V Delta estimate back easy. Now the other question, fuels. I also might need a radiator. I don't think it needs to be anything big. Just fuels. We'll do twinsies. It's not out of balance. Delta V still above 3,000, which is good. Next is the drills. That looks really good. Cannot be resized. One megawatt power. We need a small reactor that can do 2 megawatts of power. Wish I knew the electric count to megawatt conversion. These produce 75 electric charge a second. Let's have to express the megajoule. What? He just hung, folks, doing a little research. I'm not finding any information on that. All right, the only way to find out is to test it. Full daylight, will it be able to operate and satisfy its full power demand? Whoa, that's a problem. We will need to mount the drill higher, possibly up on the ore tank there, the fuel tank. I was draining megajoules quite quickly now. Let's try this again. And it's still steadily pulling down the power. We're going to need a dedicated reactor because solar panels aren't going to cut it. We also need to move those wheels up quite a bit on the chassis. Much better. So where are we going to get our power from? As far as megajoules, and a lot of them operate this thing. A Cantor can do 0.1. Megalodor can do 0.3, which means 4 of them will be megajoules. Run one drill and exactly one drill. And those cannot be retracted. Probably give that one a bigger docking port so it doesn't compete with the other tug. Also will make it dock more soundly if weight. Better. Only 2,800 parts. Probably need a little bit more monopropellant too to steer way to the craft. Bring it will be more challenging. I'll find a position. I know, we got the radial line next to little bitty ones. Where are those? I have a lot more than one crop. Looking for a load of 500 ore should be okay. Watch it, see if it runs itself. Okay, so it's still draining power way faster than a reactor can produce it. These are in that then. Not doing the job. And it just seeps right through the fabric. Not now. Hope it definitely is. Maybe we can get away with a few of the smaller drills, the dedicated work, rather than the universal drill. Requires 5 meg. We wouldn't even be able to get that one to drill at all. 5 meg also. Doesn't appear to draw ore. on, or faster. Yeah, that's the problem with this design, is its capacity is too low. It would take forever to fill that tank. You need those larger drills with the 1 megawatt fuel source. The question is how to do that without totally outstripping your weight. There is no middle ground drill, which is a pain in the butt. I think this thing does a four, but we can try it out right quick and see. It's not rushing to our megajoules, and are we more? We appear to be, but not very quickly. Good thing about this thing, it could also contain uranite, which could allow us to fuel our nuclear craft. Takes an exceptional time multiplier for it to actually extract anything. This one is not very useful either. I bet it's because there's no engineers on board. Which brings me to another idea. We need to simulate having engineers on board and using the 4 small drills and see what type of production rate we get then. Because if an engineer can make all the difference in the world, then that's all we need. So we're going to simulate having an engineer on board just to see how it performs with these smaller drills resized to 150. Maybe that's what I've been doing this whole time that I should, or haven't been doing this whole time that I should be, is putting an engineer on the mining rig. If that's the case, we'll need to crew the space station with some new engineers as well. At least the dockyard at Moon. And that appears to have made a large difference. Fill its tank in 2 days in that config. So it'll need a command chair so that an engineer can go down to the surface with it. Just like that. Just like on the other. Now let's try out the larger drill. See how it performs now. Well, our objective is to get a drill that will fill itself in less than a day. Come on, load up. There we go. This is with one drill active at this point with an engineer board. I think. Still an engineer on here? Could be. I didn't put the correct. I swear, I put it in. It's supposed to put the engineer, but it didn't do it. And ladies and gentlemen, thus progressively increasing load times was Kerbal's memory leak finally catching up with it. It has crashed. That'll be our stream for the night. We'll resume testing this tomorrow. Fortunately, I had the configuration saved. So I'll see you at 2 a.m. Eastern Time on 7/19/2017. Maybe a little early, depending on if I feel like streaming sooner than that. Now, let's see if we got anybody out there that we can raid. Who's active right now? Wow. We don't have any awake at the moment. Okay, I see someone we can host. Enraged Aries is streaming Kerbals. I'll get the link to him. Go ahead and visit him and tell him I said hello. Dragon Raid.